Welcome to Faith on Tap, a podcast where we go out to the wilds of local breweries and talk to you about, thoughts and various topics that are important to all of us. We are here in New Hartford, Connecticut. We are at Brewery Legitimus, and it's a place that is new for Dennis, not new for us.
It's a nice place.
Oh, it's very nice. It has one small open room here and the big rooms in the back. And Liz, what did you have to eat?
I had the buffalo chicken pizza. What's the name of the truck? I don't remember. Doughboy. That was very good. I can't think of anything I would do different. So 9.5? I don't know.
Yeah.
9.5?
It was really good.
Yeah. So you had a buffalo chicken?
Yep.
And I had a special with pepperoni pesto sauce. It was very good. Nice thin crust. And I'd say at least a 9. So I was very happy with it. And Dennis, what did you?
I had the margarita pizza, and as far as pizza goes, it was okay.
Oh, just okay.
So I was hoping for a different food truck, but swing and a miss.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. Well, hopefully a swing and a miss won't be the question we ask. Should be a question everyone should have an answer to. Maybe you have to think about it for a second, but we're going to be asking, what's something that you would not want to change about yourself? Do you think people are going to have, Liz, a quick answer to that? Do you think they'll ponder?
They'll have to think about it. I'm sure most people would have a long laundry list of what they want to change.
I think the question is a really good one because it changes the perspective. Everybody wants to ask, what would you change about yourself? But what wouldn't you change about yourself? It's a very different perspective.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to throw people a little bit off. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be a positive. I think we're going to get some fun answers. We're going to hopefully get some thought-provoking responses. Let's see what they have to say.
So I am here with...
Hi, my name is Rich.
Rich, the question to you tonight is this. What is something you would not change about yourself?
I would not change the fact that I've been grateful to be able to retire, that I am married to the same woman that I've been married to now for 35 happy years, and that I enjoy drinking beer with my friends.
The simplicity of that statement is beautiful.
I got to be grateful about something.
I'm
got to be grateful about something.
I'm going to probe this a little deeper.
Yeah.
So you would not change 35 years with your wife?
No, I would not.
Why?
We each were married before, and we each understand the degree to which we are lucky to be with the person that we're with and where we are. When people ask me how long we've been married, I will say we've been married for 35 happy years. And when people ask my wife how long we've been married, she will often say we've been married for 6 happy months. And two things can be true at once.
And it's the first 6 months, right? Not of the 35 years.
We don't know. Yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
There you go.
Dave, the same question to you.
What he just said, I'm currently married to the love of my life, my best friend.
How many years?
Only 4. We've been together for 20.
You're just a late adopter to the whole marriage thing, huh?
No, second time around.
Making sure.
But as Rich just said, what makes life great is this bond. And this bond at Legitimus started years ago.
Between you guys.
And a few others who unfortunately are not with us today. It was a bond that has continued year after year. And even though people have passed, it's continued. And it's brought more and more people in. You came in a little late tonight, but there were probably 8 people sitting around this table.
I saw.
All bonding because of a seed that had been started years ago.
And so that friendship, that connection is something you value. and would not let go.
No, not a chance. No, not a chance.
Wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Speaking with, what's your name?
Lisa.
Lisa, how you doing? I'm Mark.
Good. Hi, Mark.
So I have a question. I'm interested to see how you're going to respond to it. What's something about yourself that you would not like ever change about you?
My honesty.
And so you can see yourself extremely honest?
As my son would say, I'm brutally honest.
And has that got you into trouble in the past?
Yeah, I think it has.
But why do you feel so important to be honest?
Because I think I appreciate when somebody's honest with me and I can handle whatever they're telling me, even if it's a no.
Okay.
And a lot of people can't handle that.
All right. Well, for a guy, the question comes in like, well, when your wife says, "Do I look fat in this dress?" Well, as a guy, what's a guy going to say at that point? So, when you just be brutally honest, and to a point where you might hurt someone's feelings, even,
I'd soften it, but I would tell the truth.
Okay.
Like,
can you give an example?
Maybe that dress isn't the right cut for you or color. But why don't you try this?
Yeah. So why do you like that about yourself?
Because I think it cuts through all the BS.
Okay.
And it's just an honest answer. And I think a lot of people don't realize it, but I think they appreciate honesty.
Yeah, I think you're right.
My name is Steve.
Steve?
Yeah.
How you doing? So the question I have for you is, what's something about yourself that you like about yourself and you wouldn't want to change?
I like to engage with other human beings.
Like we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
And that's a gift that you think you have?
I don't know if it's a gift. I think it's human nature that people forgot that we have.
Okay, but you don't see many people with that gift yourself?
Not as much as there should be.
Is it because you have a general like for other people, or is there another reason?
Right back.
I think I have a general like, but also I think it's our right. We should do it. We're human beings.
It's the right thing to do?
Absolutely.
And have you ever found some positive, after you've actually been able to communicate, have you had positive stories that helped when you were talking to people?
Yeah, absolutely. Because generally people, like, even if you open a door for someone, they go, "Oh, thank you."
They're surprised that you're actually being nice.
Yeah, just that simple.
So you're that way with like family, friends, and strangers?
Absolutely.
And you feel the reason why you are that way is you feel that it's your duty, or why do you want to be that way? It's a nice quality to have. Is there something driving you to that?
Yeah, because I think people need to feel the love.
Okay. People need to feel loved. That's deep. And you're the person who wants to show that love to people. And even if it's a small little way that you're doing it, it's a way that you're showing doing that.
Yeah, the more people you engage with, the better person you are.
Right. And why is it important for you to be a good person?
It helps me be who I am.
Okay, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. You seem like generally a nice person, and I'm trying to find the root of why you're so nice. And it's your human, it's your nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are back. Liz, what's cooking?
Oh, a big pot of I should be in bed stew.
Okay. We have a few hours left for that. And
for you.
Perhaps. When we have to my left here, the harbor of holiness.
Absolutely not.
The harbor part or the holiness part that
Both.
you like?
I strive to be a harbor of holiness, but my achievement, I think, is wanting. So try again next week.
I will do my best. So we asked the question, as you just heard, what's something you wouldn't want to change about yourself? And I know going in, you said, Dennis, that you like the question because people are so used to saying things that they would change about themselves. They can list off a laundry list of things, but with this one, people liked answering it, but they were surprised by the question. It seemed like,
I got the sense that they never thought about what they wouldn't change before.
Right. Right.
It was always everybody approaches it from the negative.
Exactly. And I talked to a lovely couple, Lisa and Steve, and Lisa, she said, well, I'm brutally honest and I like it that way. And she, as you just heard, she said that, strangers, forget about them. But I'll be honest with the people that around me. As long as they don't gossip, I would be more than happy to be honest. She just felt that that's the correct way that she wanted to be treated. And I definitely respect that. And I think she had a lot of wisdom. And her husband, Steve, as you just heard, he seems like a fantastic fella. He just wants to be engaged to people. He just likes having conversations with people. And that's why it's funny, because at first, off the mic, I said, do you want to have ask some questions? And he said, no, I had a long day. And okay. The wife was willing. And then after he heard the questions, he goes, oh, I want to answer them now. So I said, okay, cool. And, then he had to say how he liked talking to people. He just seems like a genuinely nice guy. And I kept on prodding him if the reason why he's nice is there's a reason, anything spiritual. He didn't tip his hand saying that. He just seemed to be a genuinely nice person without the motivation of a
Needing
supreme being.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was trying to fish for that, but he never admitted to that. So. Anyways, I thought there was some depth in our conversations. So if I was to ask you, and I'm sure you must have thought about this, what's one thing that you wouldn't change about yourself? And if you can add to that, how is God using that to glorify Him rather than you? What do you guys have for answers for that?
I wouldn't change my ability I can detach from certain things. I'll give you an example. Though my responsibility is shepherding and pastoring a church, there are certain things out of my hands. And I need to be able to step back and go, I can't control that. I can't control people. I'm not responsible for their salvation. I'm responsible to the things that God calls me to, and they're responsible for their own. And so I'm able to kind of detach from, and not in an unhealthy way, not in a way where I don't care, but I don't carry the weight of responsibility.
So you care about them, but you also realize that there's only so much you can control?
So not necessarily control, but there's only so much I can do. There's only so much I can speak to someone. There's only so much that I can love on someone. Or there's only so much truth that a person's going to be able to handle before either they receive it or they completely block it off and kind of walk away from it. So I don't take those things personally. I detach from they hate me, they don't like me, to maybe they just didn't like what I had to say.
Do you think that's a learned behavior, a survival mechanism?
Both.
Okay.
I used to take everything right on the chin, carry the weight with me. You can ask Sandy. I've spent many a sleepless night tossed and turned because there was something floating. It's not, I don't have a concern for them, because I do, but I don't allow that concern to control me and my emotions.
Does this change happen while you're being a pastor, before?
Oh, yeah.
Fairly recent.
Probably about 5 years ago, right around the COVID time.
Okay.
Going through that, coming out the other side, maybe 22, I was done. And God kind of birthed this ability to, in a healthy way, detach from certain things.
Yeah. What about you, Liz?
I think the only thing that I don't want to get rid of is the thing that God gave me, which is discernment, regardless of whether it actually has an effect, because I don't think it's actually been used or noticed. But everything else can go away. I don't really care about what other biological gifts I've been given with whatever nonsense talents. Those don't mean anything to me, really. I can let them go. But, discernment is a gift of the Spirit. So
the discernment,
hang on to that.
Has the discernment manifested itself?
No. Well, it's manifested, but it's not heard, so it doesn't matter. Maybe sometime. Maybe at some point it'll be heard, but it's not heard yet.
So
You would get rid of your artwork.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. I don't care about it.
if I was to answer the question, I think I would have to say my desire to help people along with my work ethic would be the things that I am happy that I have. I feel that fortunately I can use that in certain ways. I will put the time and effort into, if it's helping a widow with assembling a chair or a bed, or if it's something where I can work extra time because I don't sleep much, preparing for the men's Bible study or my Bible study, I'll put the time in because I enjoy doing it. I have the time to do it. I'm pretty effective at doing it. So yeah, those are the things that I just get stuff done, and I can live with that. And
I've often called you or referred to you as a pit bull.
Yeah,
Did you get your jaws locked onto something?
Yeah, I've been called a lot of things. That's one of the nicest things I've been called. Yeah. So, okay, so with that in hand, we have some things that we have to worry about when we get to these things. So, like Psalms 139, it says that a part of it says we're fearfully and wonderfully made. So, does that mean that every part of us is off limits for change, or just that God designed us with the raw materials that we have? How would you address that we're fearfully and wonderfully made, so why would we change?
Well, I think the original version of us was fearfully in awe and wonderfully made. And I still think we're fearfully and wonderfully made. But that Genesis chapter 3 story about the fall kind of put a kibosh onto how now we live out fearfully and wonderfully made. And we've lost traction. We've run afoul. Sin entered the world. And now we're looking to get back to a Christ-like lifestyle. And I think that's where fearfully and wonderfully made allows us to change, to mature in spiritual things.
So you do believe and accept that we are wonderfully made,
Absolutely.
even though the fall happened.
Mm-hmm.
So to address the question, so if we are fearfully, wonderfully made, but there was a fall, should we still worry about changing ourselves, or since God made us who we are, we shouldn't change?
Well, I believe we should change because we enter this world with a black spot. We enter this world in a sinful nature. I've often said you don't have to teach a child to be selfish. You have to teach them to share.
Mm-hmm.
And so our natural response is selfishness. And so though we have the DNA, the blueprint of wonderfully made and fearfully made, we're always, what's the word I'm looking for? We're always working towards back to the garden. We're always working towards being that chapters 1 and 2 in Genesis.
And that 1 and 2 in Genesis talks about some of the gifts that we do have because of God,
Mm-hmm.
and that He designed it a certain way. However, there are some things that the fall produced in us which might not be helping the kingdom of God move forward.
Exactly. And so that's where sanctification comes in for the believer. That's where we're pressing into that truth that we are fearfully and wonderfully made more and more and more and more. I don't think we'll ever achieve completion in this life, but it's that cease striving and know that I am God, that God can only change us, but that's the submission of our lives to the things of God. And it's could be complicated at times, but it's really simple.
Yeah. So we often heard, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that applies to people in the sense that if the older you are, the more set in the ways you are, and hopefully the qualities that you have that were positive are built up. But do you think any of the negative qualities that people have as they get older, that it's changeable, that an older person can just say, you know what, I'm going to turn a switch on and I'm not going to be that way anymore? Or do you think it's kind of lost cause?
I think you can teach an old dog new tricks if the old dog is willing to learn a new trick. Sometimes when we get older, I know I become set in my ways in certain things, and rightfully so in some ways, and arrogantly so in others, and that's wrongfully so. And so I have to continually look at and evaluate the things that I feel are important, the things that I'm engaging in life, the things that I'm not neglecting but avoiding in life, and say, are these beneficial right now? Are my attitudes towards these things beneficial to that process of sanctifying me, of pressing into being fearfully and wonderfully made?
So for you personally, you think that you can actually see something which you can grow on in your life and actually pursue that growth?
I have to.
And you do?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel that I would feel bad if someone said, you knew me 5 years ago. So you're the same exact way you are 5 years ago. I go, ooh, I'm sorry. that sucks.
Nope.
I want to hopefully every week, every month be growing, and that I'm not as recognizable as I was that long ago.
How many years of teaching did you have?
How many years? Oh, in the 30s, mid-30s.
You, Liz, how many years?
In the 20s.
20s. I wonder, like, if you talk to one of your students when you first, second, third year teaching, and then you talk to your students when you were, eventually getting out of teaching, what they would like how they would compare the difference of your presentation, of your attitude, of your personality.
Well, I think part of that though is that it's dependent about when they graduate, you're not treating them as students anymore. It's like when I have groups of students come in, usually there's summer, I'll have like previous years, they'll come and visit, we'll play games and stuff like that. And, we joked around and stuff in class, and we can joke around when they come here, but now they're adults. I'll say, yeah, gee, I can make bourbon, and can we try some? I go, no, you're just student. Oh, you're in your mid-20s. Never mind. Sure. Yeah, it's kind of like, same thing with our kids too, right? When they grow older, they become parents. And it's like, wait a second, you're the same one that was kicking the door for 4 hours straight, and now you're parenting. So yeah, we have to be cognizant of our kids, and just as we have to be aware of our willingness to change. And I want to always be able to grow. I always want to be able to change. Liz, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it's just a natural human thing. If we're stagnant, we might as well be dead.
But I think most people are happy with who they are, and they don't want to change when they get up there in age.
Do you really think that no one wants to change?
No, I didn't say no one. I said I think a lot of people don't have the desire to change. They're content with who they are.
I don't know if contentment is the right word.
Lazy?
Comfortable, which can contribute to lazy. Contentment to me feels full, feels like I'm content, and it doesn't really, it's not relevant to my circumstance.
Well, I'm just thinking about the people that allow people to listen to the same music they've done for the last 50 years.
That's
no offense. No, but you're listening to new Chris Stapleton stuff at least.
I am.
So
I am.
There's that.
What a rebel.
I know.
No, but seriously, I mean, it's like some people, they're stuck in the years that they were
Right.
like in their prime, whether that be high school, college, or what have you.
I have friends that talk about, their high school days
Yeah.
of whatever sports they were in. And
Well, that was the joke on Married with Children, is that the father, all he talked about was his
Football.
the halcyon days of being the football star.
and that's kind of sad,
Yeah.
Well, what else did he have?
right? He had his wife.
Well, she loved him in her way.
In her way.
So would you say that the self-acceptance is about just ignoring our flaws, or is it more about trusting that God has already accepted us?
Well, self-acceptance is not ignoring our flaws, but it's accepting our flaws. And then for me, addressing the flaws. Is this something that needs to be taken care of or addressed immediately? I leave my clothes in the corner of the bathroom in the morning, my own bathroom. Do I need to address this immediately? Is it a thing that needs to be addressed? Yeah. Am I lazy in doing it? Probably. But it's my bathroom.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be very aware of, especially our flaws and our weaknesses that affect other people. And especially in my job, I need to be very much aware of those things. Like, I've been called the bully in the past, and those words were very stinging. I'm like, what the hell are you people talking about? And then I realized when I caught myself saying some things to certain people, it felt bully-ish, spiritual bully. Like when the pastor says, "Oh, you're going to do this," even though it was said in jest from my perspective, it wasn't received in jest. It was received like, we're being strong-armed into this. So I've had to constantly take a step back.
So you're saying, you said that self-acceptance is not about ignoring flaws. It's just about recognizing who you are. But if you accept who you are as it is, as you are, is that just giving up? Is it saying that, well, I am who I am. I'm not gonna change. God made me the way He did. He loves me as I am.
Well, I think you can go in two directions with that. Yeah, there could be a self-acceptance where I am what I am, and that's all there is. But then there's a self-acceptance of, I am who I am, but God in me is pushing me to become a better I am, to become a better person, to become more devoted to my family, more devoted to my children, more devoted to the things of God, more devoted to my relationship with Christ, all of those things.
So it's not ignoring your flaws, it's recognizing them. And
I am flawed in that I have room to grow.
Right.
And am I willing to grow? I think that's a big question.
Cool. All right. So now let's get to Paul. And one of my favorite verses, when he's begged for God to take away his thorn in the side, and God said no. God's power is perfected in His weakness. So
I believe in the Greek, it's "suck it up, buttercup."
I don't have the Greek with me here, so you're the pastor, so I'm assuming you're correct. So is there a version of I wouldn't change this that actually glorifies God more than fixing it? So in other words, you have a flaw, and you say, well, this flaw that I have could actually edify the kingdom. And even though it doesn't edify me, I'm good with that. Or do you think that that's not the correct way of thinking about it?
I don't see whatever was going on with Paul is physical, so that's not a fair comparison. If we're going around saying, "Oh yeah, my left leg's shorter than my right leg," then you might have an argument there. But if you're talking about a flaw like a flaw in your personality, it's not comparable to what Paul was talking about.
There's some theologians that say Paul was talking about people in the church that were coming up against him. So and if that's the case, then yes. But if it's Liz's case, then yes. Because if it's a physical flaw that you can't do anything about, then it's not your fault. And does that how you handle that might glorify God? Like, you're not aggravated, you're not miserable, you're not hatred, you don't hate people or hate God. And if there's people within any pastor's church that would be more of a blessing if they left than when they stay. But that, I believe, sanctifies pastors. It establishes in us a need to self-reflect and say, why is this person aggravating me so much? What is it in me that is being rubbed the wrong way by them? And that lends itself to repair.
So regardless of what Paul went through, whether it's physical or mental, or the point I was trying to make is, can a personality trait or flaw that you have be something that can still edify God in the long run in the people?
I'm going to say yes, but I don't know how. Because everything can ultimately bring glory to God. Pharaoh brought glory to God.
Right.
But I'm trying to figure out like my flaws. They're pretty flawed. And I don't know how unless
people could relate to those flaws and
help them through.
Yeah.
Or the flaw has been repaired by the things of God and I'm able to testify to that. But I don't know if I'm in the flaw, like if I'm like all in and I'm living very, I don't know. I guess eventually it could lead to the glory for God.
Well, I mean, I tend to think that you have certain personality traits that can either glorify God or not glorify God, depending on how you work with those traits. So I guess if you could relate to a person on that level, yeah, I am that way as well. However, and be able to steer that to the kingdom works.
Yes.
All right. So the last question I have, I believe we believe the gospel is true, and our identity with whatever would say this is something I wouldn't change. But shouldn't our number one identity that we wouldn't change would be our identity with Christ? How we are viewed with Christ as our comforter, as our motivator, as our healer, as our father, et cetera, et cetera. Shouldn't that alone free us from the temptation to either hate ourselves or be arrogant? If we just say, well, who I am in Christ is the most important thing is. Forget about everything else.
In a perfect world, absolutely.
However,
we have an enemy that whispers in our head and belittles us, tears us down, feeds us lies. So, like I said, in a perfect world, our identity in Christ should be the compass, the sail, the motor that runs and directs us. But let's be honest, life throws a bunch of sucker punches at us all the time. And we bob, we weave, we get knocked down, we get back up. And so it's not just a continual motion forward. It's a fight.
It's a fight, but I think it's also our perspective can just be totally skewed when we start focusing too much on ourselves and not on who we are in Christ. I see that with myself anyways. And I think the closer we can identify with who we are, the less important those other issues are. And we can focus on who we are. And that would alleviate a lot of the issues that we have with our self-hatred, et cetera, et cetera.
I think we attribute our earthly dad, to our heavenly dad. And you can have a great earthly dad, but your earthly dad got mad at you and you were punished for certain things. And there may be times where he didn't speak to you for a few hours because he was so angry. And that's not our God. Like, our God can't be angry at us because of the work that Christ did on the cross. And so what we think God is anger is more, I believe God's like, no, don't do that. Like, I have so much better. Like, if you would just do this instead of that, this is better. And we don't look at it that way. We look at it as God, he's pissed at me again. And that's not going to be good.
That's good motivation for everyone listening. On that note, have a great night.
Good night.
Tune in next episode when you'll hear Dennis say,
I had schmutz under my armpits.